Today's Editor's Note podcast is brought to you by Star-Lord's DJ Services. Do you need some fat tunes for an upcoming party? Star-Lord is your Lord of the Dance. Played on cassette tapes with songs before 1980 only.
Welcome to the Editor's Note Comics Podcast, the only podcast coming from Central Maine's best comic book store by default. It is Wednesday, June 15th. I don't know why I switched it up, but I did. My name's Zach. Hey.
I'm local internet celebrity and all-around nice guy, Jared.
It's a weird thing you have to qualify that.
What, that I'm an all-around nice guy?
Yeah.
You know.
Makes me suspicious.
Of what?
You.
I mean, I'm not nefarious.
Welcome to our first two-part episode, so let's kill some time, have some banter. How was your week?
It was alright. Last week of school.
Wasn't that one of those lying tells if your voice gets really high at the end?
It was alright. The question caught me off guard. It's last week of school. Tired. Had Project Grad last weekend. Got 4 hours of sleep total over the weekend.
Unfortunate.
Saw a great hypnotist, though, and still recovering.
I saw a successful podcast.
Yeah, you went and saw Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah. It's this is what podcasting looks like.
I mean, we're doing pretty well. We're getting mentions on Twitter and stuff like that, so.
I did learn an important lesson, though.
What's that?
Don't buy drinks at a comedy club.
They're expensive?
Throw out a number.
Well, tell me what you got first. You probably got a whiskey on the rocks. It probably cost you $8.
Oh, sir. Double that and keep going.
$22.
Okay, less than that.
19.
But, yeah, oh man, don't buy drinks at a comedy club.
That's not funny, is it?
It really brought the mood down in the middle of the show. Oh.
Was that when you got your bill and you saw
Yeah, they're last call. I'm okay, great. They're and here's your bill.
Are you sure it was your bill?
Yeah.
Was it 3 figures when you were done?
No.
Oh.
No. Scary stuff.
The price of a good time is high.
Well,
that was really great banter.
Hey, it's enough of your shit.
Wow, and the podcast turned surly very quickly.
As we do each and every week, let's start off with the news.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
It's time for the news.
We never give credit to the guy who does our sound clips. Thanks.
Yeah, you can say thank you to...
Well, we can't... I don't know if we can name. We can't name.
Thank you to... We could call him the president of the Ed Heads. We can bestow upon him the most regal title, King of the Ed Heads.
That unpaid position?
Yes. Everything about this podcast is unpaid.
We're getting there. Easy does it.
I'm waiting for my 20%.
Well, maybe if you weren't going away for a week, we could do it that much faster.
Listen, I'm sorry. Yeah,
it happens. All right, first bit of news coming out of DC. James Wan, the guy who's directing Aquaman, he said that Warner Brothers came to him, just kind of showed him what they got and said, "You pick." And he said Aquaman.
Over The Flash?
Yeah.
Really?
I guess because it came down to we've seen people running fast before. We've done it in movies and TV shows. And unless you're James Cameron, you haven't really done the underwater thing.
Well, good pull on the James Cameron. Or Jacques Cousteau.
Or whoever did Sphere. You ever see that flick?
What about Waterworld?
They were not under the water.
They were on it.
I want to watch Aquaman.
What about the core? They were kind of underwater. They were under everything, really.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be a good movie. The Flash seems like a little bit more of the obvious choice, a little bit more name recognition, especially right now, but he chose to go for something else. Good for him.
Name recognition and, recognition as far as, people have interest in how well it's doing on Netflix. The series on Netflix is doing.
That's on CW.
Oh, CW. But it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it gets on Netflix.
I don't get out much. That's really the problem here.
The network for generic blonde pretty boys.
It used to be the WB.
Yeah.
The WB?
Well, that became the CW.
Yeah, I know that.
It's all, yeah.
Seventh Heaven reruns.
Let's not talk about Seventh Heaven. There's no more of that.
Oh, yeah, good point. Let's cut that out.
They don't show Seventh Heaven anymore.
When that show got really real. I'm imitating life.
I'm going to keep on talking about the CW. So Supergirl is moving over to the CW off of, what was it, ABC? I'm going to say it. Nope. CBS.
Because they had 1 million advertisements for it during the Super Bowl.
Well, not enough to make people interested.
Yeah.
But it's moving over to CW. They're slashing the budget a lot, but their hook.
It's the CW.
Yeah. Their big hook is, so far with all of these TV shows, DC has said, you do what you want, but you don't touch the big three. You don't touch the Trinity. those are ours. You can't have them. Greg Berlanti, guy who runs all these shows.
Yes.
But they're letting him have Superman.
Now, is it going to be, like, good Superman? Like movie Superman? Is he going to make an appearance, or is it going to be, like, generic Superman?
No, they're going to do their own Superman. The rumor that's been going around and is they're going to bring Tom Welling back as Superman from Smallville.
Really?
Give
me Dean Cain.
He's already on that show.
Is he?
He's already on Supergirl.
What?
Doing something else.
I don't know. I like Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
I don't know. It could be good. Probably it's the first time they were letting them use anyone big. Man, it's almost exclusively DC news this time. Not entirely, but mostly. It was announced that a Justice League Dark animated movie is going to come out, and that's pretty much it. It's a little bit interesting is a few years ago there was rumors of Guillermo del Toro, and it wasn't more than rumors, it was moving forward, but then it stopped, that he was going to do a live-action Justice League Dark. They haven't announced what the cast is going to be, but it's something different they haven't done before. They've done plenty of Justice League movies and some animated movies with more success than others. But I think it's something different. Go for it. DC seems to be touching on some of their darker properties, like they're going to do the Justice League Dark, and then Suicide Squad, which got a rating this week.
Yes, PG-13.
Yep. Did you read my notes, or did you know that?
I knew that, and I read your notes.
Okay. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yes, pick some and take some, as I like to say. No, are you surprised, though? I thought it was going to trend more towards R, especially with Deadpool, but...
I think it was too late. I mean, they were so far into production. At that point, it would just be going back and...
Yeah, but you could pick up 3 or 4 scenes to push you over that PG-13 rating to R, but I still think it'll be on the bounds of R, I think. I think it'll be way out on the PG-13 side.
Yeah, you get 2 F-bombs, then you're R.
Yes.
It's one of those and 2 other words that I try to not say on the podcast.
Oh, wow. And if you do accidentally, they usually get edited out.
Shit, fuck, we're still PG-13.
There it is.
I don't think you could do them in that quick succession, though.
I mean, I don't see why not.
That's the line. In all seriousness, that's the line.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Get 2 of one and 1 of the other. But sometimes you can change the F word into the other word and get 3 of those.
Ooh.
It's true. That's FCC.
Good for them.
Yeah, so if you're...
Wouldn't it be the MPAA at that point? Because it's not...
Yeah, no.
Yes, it's not like they're broadcasting the movies to the theaters.
Sorry, I was thinking about net neutrality.
That was, which, by the way, big decision today for net neutrality.
Yeah, that's why it was on my mind.
Yeah, because the internet is considered a utility and not a luxury. Huzzah!
It was announced last week, a little after we did the show, that Killing Joke is going to be in theaters for 1 night through Fandango.
Nice. And you were doing some research anywhere around here that we might be able to see Killing Joke in the theater?
Brunswick is the closest.
There
we'll
you
see.
go.
Yeah, if you live in the central Maine area, you have to drive to Brunswick. Or you can just spend an equal amount of money and just watch it in your home in comfortable pants.
I mean, you go to the theater in comfortable pants. You don't have to, wear...
Not as comfortable as I want.
Okay, fair enough. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I can't wear... I guess I could wear elastic waists to the theater.
You could. I mean, there are plenty of people who wear elastic waist pants to the theater.
I'm not ready to do that yet.
You haven't fallen that far down yet? You haven't reached that low in life?
No.
Would you wear the elastic band pants with the elastic band around the ankle, too?
No, that's 290s.
That's 290s? Do you have to have, like, the floating cuff?
I enjoy some free flow.
Yeah, little.
I don't want to be confined to what I'm doing.
Little airflow, a little spacious.
Spacious?
Spacious, the space age.
It's not a space age. So we're going to talk about some space age stuff later.
Yes, we are.
Going to the moon.
And beyond.
Not comic book news, but still news worth mentioning. It was announced that John Williams is going to score both Indiana Jones 5 and Star Wars Episode 8.
Hell yeah.
He's not scoring Rogue One. It'll be the first Star Wars movie without John Williams, except for probably that terrible animated one.
Yeah, but it's going to have the John Williams overtones. You're still going to have the...
the themes will still be there.
The themes will be the same, but it's just, the man's got to be pushing, mid-70s?
Yeah, I'm surprised. It's... Whenever he wants to retire, go for it. He's more than...
he could have retired 10, 15 years ago.
He could have retired longer than that.
But, the guy makes quality music for cinema.
Oh, yeah, legend. Untouchable legend.
Oh, yeah. You
get out of here, Danny Elfman. You got nothing.
Danny Elfman. Was it Danny Elfman that got off on the Blue Harvest sequences from the Star Wars remake series from...
I haven't seen those in forever. I don't remember.
From Family Guy?
Couldn't tell you. But if you say it happens... I'll believe it with 60% accuracy.
Hey, that's better than 20% of the podcast cut.
What's 20% of 0?
Still 0.
All right. We got some more Wolverine 3 set photos. Have you seen these yet?
I have not. Hashtag Wolverine Handvein.
No, we know it's him because the movie's called Wolverine 3.
Well,
we'll probably know
Hugh
that.
Jackman, was it Hugh Jackman Handvein? Or was that the...
I don't remember what I did. Bam!
Oh, look at that. It's Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
With like a kind of a beard.
Yeah, he looks distressed.
Yes, he does. He looks old. Well, it's a very feeble Charles. Typical X-Men movie. Charles is going to be in trouble, and Logan's got to come bail his ass out.
Well, what was nice about this is I don't think it was ever officially announced. People just kind of took it as fact. Patrick Stewart said a while ago, he was like, oh yeah, no, I think I'm going to be in that movie, and then everyone just kind of took it, and I don't think there was ever an actual announcement. You don't get much more of an announcement like, oh, there he is on set filming.
God, I love Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
He's on the short list of favorite actors. Like, if I were to meet him, I don't know what I would do.
But this is one of those situations where I've given the X-Men movies some fair criticism.
You gave them scathing criticism.
Fair and unbiased.
I would say it's...
Sell me more comics, X-Men, because you're not.
Wow. See, we're getting to this is good. This podcast could be more about, like, getting to the root of some of your recent anger.
It's all based on bad movies and not making good sales for me. That's the way it works. There's a good movie, good comic book sales. Mediocre to bad movie, no one cares.
Fair enough. I can understand that. I would totally think that would be the case.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Their bottom line affects your bottom line.
Oh, yeah. But, hey, I'm more excited for this movie. If you're going to have another X-Men movie, at least do it with the two best actors you have. If it's a road trip movie with Xavier and Wolverine, great.
Ooh, that would be a lot of fun.
That's what Patrick Stewart said originally, and if that's the movie, I'm all for it. These are your tent poles, unless you threw Ian McKellen in there. Then you have all three.
I can't think of... Well, yeah, that'd be the big three of the X-Men franchise, for certain.
Yeah, and they're certainly the strongest actors and the most engaging.
Oh, yeah, hands down. And they've made their characters fantastic.
Yeah, for as many terrible things they'll say about the franchise and how it has not aged well, especially these two guys, these are your pillars.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're fantastic.
Bring it on. Shave your creepy old man beard, Wolverine. You look terrible.
He's fine.
In all fairness, a million times better shape than I'll ever know.
Oh, he tweeted out a picture.
His abs have abs.
Of working out. Like, the veins on his arms are, like, busting. And, like, they're in 3D and a 2D picture.
If we're going to talk about that, did you see J.K. Simmons this week?
Oh, my God.
I was hoping you had it. I wanted to surprise you with pictures.
I know.
Bam!
He's got the big white beard. He's just... I don't know what to think.
He is working out for Justice League. He's training with the Rock's trainer, if you can't tell.
Oh, I mean, his beard is as big as his biceps.
He's 61. And he could kill me.
He looks... I wish someday.
Like, without trying. It would be like, lightly swap me aside. I would die.
Someday. Imagine if he had arms like that when he was in Whiplash.
He was in really good shape in Whiplash.
I know. I like J.K. Simmons a lot as an actor.
Slapping around a little Miles Teller.
Well, no, I was more of a fan of him, like, in...
Oz.
Not really. I never really got into Oz.
Well, he'd be so much scarier as in Whiplash, like with arms this size. Like, were you dragging or rushing and then slapping him across the face with arms like that?
Oh, it's massive.
We don't need Batman. We have Jim Gordon, spelled J-Y-M.
Jim.
Wait.
Gordon.
G-Y-M.
Jim Gordon.
I killed the joke. It wasn't my joke anyway.
Yeah, but whoever's joke it was, they ruined it.
Yeah, that's fine. Mark Miller, let's say. Maybe Scott Snyder.
I'll trust you with 65% accuracy.
Do less than that. When it comes to spelling, I mean...
I'm cutting you the... And you're an English major.
Not a spelling major.
Fair enough.
I'm a wordsmith, not a spellographer.
Is that even a word?
No.
It is now. Spellographer. Hashtag spellographer. SPELLOGRAPHER. Spellographer.
So still staying within the realm of Justice League, Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition is coming out next month. And Larry Fogg, the director of photography, who's, as far as director of photographies go, dude's pretty famous. He did a lot of work with J.J. Abrams, and now he's doing stuff with Warner Brothers. But he had tweeted out, like, look, if you're already a fan of the movie, you like it that much more. If you hated it around the first time, you're still going to hate it. And I don't think Warner Brothers was too pleased with that.
Now, are you gonna buy it or Redbox it?
Don't know if Redboxing it's a choice.
You may have to just buy it.
That'd be a business expense if we do it on the show.
Anybody who's familiar with tax law,
business expense. But he tweeted out last week, he's like, just watch the Ultimate Edition again. Changed my mind. Everybody's gonna love it. You shill.
I wonder how much they greased him up for that.
I don't think they greased him up and said, tweet something out or lose your damn job. What were you thinking?
Yeah, it's like saying, oh, this second time I've made dinner is going to be okay, but not as good as the first time.
Yeah, that was some pretty bad backpedaling.
It's like your mechanic saying, well, if you didn't like your previous oil change, you may enjoy this oil change a little better.
I will if that damn light goes off. you made the show too real.
I deal in simile.
Last bit of news, shortly before we record the show, Donald Glover was announced to be in a mystery role in the new Spider-Man movie. Now we're going to go back in history and say why this is a little bit interesting. A couple years back when Sony was doing their reboot that ended up being with Andrew Garfield, there was a big push to have Donald Glover in the role of Spider-Man, but not Peter Parker Spider-Man. We're going to go back even further in time. Back in, let's say, 2001, I think it was, Marvel created a whole second universe called the Ultimate Universe. The idea was you could start reading comics, and everything would be, from the start, you don't have to worry about a bunch of confusing history. In about 2 years, they made it way too confusing for anyone to jump in. And now that universe crashed into another planet and it was gone.
How does the universe crash into a planet? Wouldn't it be like that planet crashed into a sun?
No, they collided together. It was a thing.
Oh, a universe into a planet.
Well, the planets collided, and it was a thing.
Okay. I trust you. With 45% accuracy.
But over in the Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker had been killed, and this other kid, Miles Morales, who was half black, half Hispanic Spider-Man, took over. And the character is hugely popular, still is popular to this day. Very few things survived from planets colliding and the Ultimate Universe being destroyed, but they have kept Miles Morales Spider-Man. It was a huge, huge push on the internet a few years ago, but now they're saying, oh, hey, Donald Glover's in this movie, but we won't tell you what he's doing.
We have 2 Spider-Mans?
And that's the way it is right now in the Marvel Universe. The only thing that would be weird about this, and not even weird, if you want to work around it, fine, I don't care. Miles Morales is the teenage Spider-Man, and Peter Parker's your 30-something-odd Spider-Man. If they did this, it would be reversed, but you know what? Not that big of a deal. It was just interesting to see his casting on something that had such a huge push a few years ago. They have not said, hey, guess what? He's Miles Morales. They just said, Donald Glover's in this movie. We're not telling you what he's doing. Sometimes mystery roles are a big thing, and sometimes they mean nothing.
I'm all in for surprise.
It won't be. They'll announce it, and then we'll dissect it here.
Fair enough.
There will be no surprise.
We're here to ruin everything.
It's a terrible slogan.
We're here to help prepare you for the worst.
Better, not good.
So much like Superman, Batman, Ultimate Cut.
Yeah. Actually, I rethought it. Everything is great.
Any other news?
Nah, not worth talking about.
Oh.
The rest of it was boring.
All right, well.
Oh, you know what we should talk about because we didn't before? I lied. There is one more thing that's worth mentioning, and it's not official yet, which is why I didn't want to bring it up yet, but people keep reporting on it, so I might as well...
Join the throng?
Yeah, throw my hat into this now, 2-week-old ring.
Okay.
And keep in mind, this is still a rumor. I don't care how other people are presenting it. It's just a rumor that Marvel has found their Captain Marvel with their first female-led superhero movie with Brie Larson.
Ooh.
Oscar-winning Brie Larson.
Big time Brie Larson.
Yeah. And
that's what they call her in Hollywood.
No one calls her that.
You don't know that. I can say that with 2% accuracy.
Yeah. No one said, hey, you, big time.
Hey, big time Brie Larson here. That sounds like an old-timey news reporter. Big time Buck Rogers.
And again, it's just rumors, but if they could get her, that'd be a really good grab. She certainly would look the role, and she clearly has the chops as an actor. I think when you get an actor of that, once you get an Oscar-winning actor in the room, I don't think that you're necessarily saying, oh, this other actor is better. I think that's the kind of thing that will elevate the other people around you to work a little bit harder.
Well, I mean, we saw that with, early X-Men movies with Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
And they got, I should have written this down, I don't know their names. The 2 women who wrote Inside Out are going to be writing this movie, too. So that movie's amazing.
What, Inside Out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So the talent they have on the movie so far is looking really good, especially
Top
when this
tier.
Brie Larson thing goes through.
Top tier. We'll be interested. We'll keep you updated here on the Editor's Note podcast.
With the news. I do the sound clip again.
The news.
No.
Oh.
I won't do that to you. Because it's just about time for another sound clip. Or not. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not.
It's Jared's Reading Corner.
Sound clip just played. For Jared's Reading Corner.
And I did the reading! I did the reading!
You had 10 days. You did it an hour ago.
I did the reading! I did the skimming.
No, read. Don't say that.
Okay. I did the reading!
So this week what we're here to talk about is Darwyn Cooke. Going back to May, he unfortunately died of cancer. We talked about this on the podcast. It was announced that he had cancer from his family. It was put on his blog. And then less than 24 hours later, he had died.
Yeah, I remember that was several weeks ago. We talked about that.
Yeah, that was 2 months ago from recording.
Really?
Yeah, it was May 14th when he died.
To the day.
Mm-hmm. Darwyn Cooke was born in November 1962. He was Canadian, and he first got his big break into this kind of world working on Batman the Animated Series in the 90s. He'd responded to an ad that Bruce Timm, the guy who produces all that stuff, put out. He also worked on Superman the Animated Series as a storyboard artist. He then went on to do the title scene from Batman Beyond, and then in 2014, for the 75th anniversary of Batman, everyone, or a lot of the people who worked on that kind of stuff, put out shorts, and he did the Batman Beyond one. One of the other big claims to fame is that in 2001, he totally revamped Catwoman with a look that still continues on 15 years later. And he worked pretty consistently throughout, going from the early 90s until very recently. He wasn't doing as many consistent titles, but he was still putting out a lot of cover work, like a lot of cover work for DC. There was 2 years back, he did, I think, 23 covers, all for this kind of Darwyn Cooke themed variant cover. And he worked for DC and also did some work for IDW that was, as far as I'm concerned, very underappreciated, which I will strongly recommend reading. If you can pick up a copy of Parker the Score, it's 1960s heist book that he does, it's an adaptation. It's phenomenal. But what we're going to talk about today is New Frontier, which is kind of his magnum opus. This came out in 2004. It was a 6-issue limited series. It won Eisner Awards, Harvey Awards, and Schuster Awards. This was almost entirely done by Darwyn Cooke. Did the writing, he did the penciling, the inking. The coloring was done by Dave Stewart. The kind of purpose of this book was to bridge the gap between the golden and silver age of comics. But also what it does, it kind of takes a timeless story of taking a time when there's a lot of fear in the nation and creating something hopeful out of that fear, and we're kind of work our way through this 6-issue series in memoriam of Darwyn Cooke. You sat down and read this. How did this work for you? This gets pretty deep into DC continuity. I don't know how gently it eases you in.
I'm not gonna lie, I got lost sometimes.
Probably more when they were out of costume.
Yeah, when they were out of costume, but there were some characters I didn't really know. Again, that's probably limited exposure to the DC universe, like Wildcat.
Some of
John
them,
Henry.
Yeah, some of them are even deep cuts for me. Like Hal Jordan is running around with his friend Ace. I don't know who Ace is. I had to look that up. He's from Challengers of the Unknown.
Ace, Highball.
Yeah, some of these guys are deep cuts. That's my standard. That's my line. If I don't know it, it's really deep.
Yeah, but no, I mean,
and people are like yelling at their phones or computers like, I knew that, dumb son.
The unwarranted hate.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I understood, I knew the Flash, I knew the Green Lantern, it kind of felt like, to me, like it was a series of movies, like some origin movies, and it all coming together, all working together. There were different themes. He draws the themes together really well. He draws the different people together.
That's really part of what this book does, is it takes kind of your sprawling, kind of confusing DC history and tries to put it all in one spot.
And I liked about, too, is it in places, especially with like Superman, Wonder Woman, you're picking them up midstream. You're not having to deal with the origin stage of them, as opposed to like, Green Lantern and Hal Jordan. We kind of learn a little bit about
Hal's the centerpiece of this.
Oh yeah.
Even Barry's origin is like a page.
Yes.
Like, man struck by lightning. He's fine.
But we really don't get into Hal Jordan being the Green Lantern until like the back third of the series. That's where the first time we see Amatsul and him getting the ring.
Yeah. Now, the way comic books work, essentially, and I'm sure there are people that will argue this, but I don't really care. Continuity in itself, every single person creates their own continuity, and part of this is based a lot on the stuff that you read, and even when you're reading stuff, you still kind of get to pick and choose, like, if you're going to sit down and go, like, well, for me, things start here, and then they go here, and here, and here. They're not always going to work. But as far as I'm concerned, New Frontier is my continuity for origin and going back to bridging this gap. Does it necessarily work with everything? No, but it doesn't really matter.
One thing I really liked about this is, where its job was to bridge the gap. It had an old-time feel to it. The art in it is really, really good. It doesn't feel like it's like a modern comic book. It feels like, it came from the 50s and the 60s, the 40s and the 50s. It really felt that way. The drawing, a lot of it, in the Jack Kirby style. The men have big chiseled chins, they're square chins, the women with the round face.
Yeah, Darwyn Cooke definitely had a style that channeled, like you said, Jack Kirby, but then the other side of it, it channels a little bit of Bruce Timm, the guy who, aside from producing all the animated stuff, also did the character designs. You can see a little bit of that in here too, but there's certainly influences, but man, he has his own unique style. If you show me anything he did, I could pick it out in a second.
But it has that old feel to it.
It does.
It doesn't look like a new, like a book that was written in 2000.
Yeah, it has a lot of kind of straight lines that you wouldn't see in most art. Now, there's definitely a classic feel to how he goes about it, and I love his style. I can't say it anymore, but for a while, he was one of the best living artists around. I love his style. I love this book. Time and time again in comic books, you'll have people who come in and they want to change the genre. And you have to. If you want to keep things interesting, things need to change. But there are points when you need a reminder of what things are supposed to be. This is a prime example of what a comic is supposed to be. There isn't a lot of interfighting in between characters or any of that. It's just these characters who have to stand for a symbol of hope and come together to beat something larger than life.
A couple of times there's a kind of a resounding theme. The line a couple of times, like, where are the heroes? And there's a real discussion about heroes. What makes a hero? Why do we look to heroes? And I think especially like this week too, in our country, this kind of, I don't know, it felt like this kind of, when I was reading it after everything that had happened in Orlando, it kind of, gave it fit the time. It fit the moment that I read it in. Which it's sad that it did, because this was,
No, it's unfortunately a timeless story.
But it's an important story. And I think, having the ability to latch on to these ideals and to personify and to illustrate what these ideals look like and things that we can, even for,
even when this
20
came out,
minutes at a time, you can look and see, it gives me,
When this came out in 2004, this, to its own point, is still a reaction to 9/11. It wasn't that long before this. We were still very deep in with everything with the Middle East.
But it was set, too, in, the Cold War era, though.
Yeah. You don't need to set it now to have the themes, but you certainly have that public fear and paranoia that I think was very prevalent when it came out.
But no, I really enjoyed it. It was a good read. It wasn't a long read. It wasn't it didn't beat you up as you read it.
No, I think this is what, at its absolute core, this is what a comic book should be. And every story can't be like this. That would be redundant and boring, but sometimes you need a piece like this to just sit back and look at the core values of what this is, and to a point, and it comes across very clearly, and I think it has something to do with the time that it came out, it tries to lay out core basic American values. It doesn't pick a side for being Republican values, Democratic values, just kind of those core basic values that everyone can agree on. And
truth, justice, the American way, hope.
Sometimes you just need that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't need to break it down more than that. Just people coming together, putting aside their differences, and working towards a greater good.
So let's dive into this thing.
Dinosaurs!
Yeah, it starts off in the Pacific. There's dinosaurs. By the way,
right after World War II.
The print stock, too, has an old print stock feel. It's not the glossy page.
Well, this, the book that we read, I think they called it the Absolute Edition. It came out in 2015. They know what they have. This is a gorgeous, beautiful book.
The deluxe edition.
Deluxe. I took a stab in the dark. I failed. I mean, the book itself looks massive, and you have to remember, this is only a 6-issue miniseries. It looks like it's about twice that much. They really went all out on the stock, which is a weird thing to focus on, but a lot of times with collections like this, you have to pay a little bit more, but boy, are you getting your money's worth out of it.
It definitely had, it had that old feel to it with the stock. It felt like newsprint as opposed to, gloss.
Yeah, well, newsprint is terrible. But
okay, well,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's not newsprint.
No, it's it's good quality stock.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not the thin, it's got weight to it.
Yeah. But it starts off 1945. We're on Dinosaur Island.
Yes, and the losers.
Yeah, which is kind of a funny way to start this whole thing off. And really, because you came over, you're like, what was up with the dinosaurs? It was mostly there to kind of set up the world and just say, hey, oh, by the way, we have dinosaurs here. But the story of the losers is also important, too.
Yes.
And what I was talking about a lot with the American values, I'm not going to dwell on this for too long because it's not super important to the story, but it opens with someone sacrificing their life by double fisting 2 grenades and jumping into the mouth of a Tyrannosaurus.
Well, after
and
everyone
blowing
else
his
died.
head up, yeah. But the whole thing ends with him writing a note saying that his family would say that he's Navajo, his government would say that he is an American, but his brothers would tell the truth and that he was one of the losers, which sounds really negative, but it was what their platoon
was called.
Yeah.
On Operation Four Horsemen.
Yeah, which, again, it goes back to that kind of united front. This is very much at its core.
And the other thing about like
values.
This first part, it doesn't really, in the beginning, do anything to advance the story. It's just like, you know.
It tells you dinosaurs are there.
And
awesome dinosaurs.
But what I felt bad about is the end, because he's part of a group of 4, the losers. This guy's name is John Cloud, and the last words on the last panel of like the prelogue, like the prelogue. Would you call it the prelogue?
We could call it a prelude.
Prelude. The prologue.
Or we could call it a prologue. You really combined some words there.
Yeah, I did. It says John Cloud was a loser. That's a harsh thing to say to a guy who swan dives into a damn Tyrannosaurus Rex with grenades.
That is a swan dive.
I mean, he is full on open. He reminds me of this kind of reminded me of Predator.
Did you call him ugly?
Oh, he may have. I mean, he doesn't win, but he it just, I don't know, they're in the jungle and these strange creatures are eating them and attacking them. And
where's Jesse Ventura?
He was he was Sarge, maybe.
Okay.
He didn't have time to bleed.
No, he never did.
So, and then right away, it's like the first time you see it in the book, like the next page you turn and the first words are, where had all the heroes gone? Where were the heroes of tomorrow?
Yeah, so this is tied very closely into actual DC Comics history. The first superhero team that they had was the Justice Society of America, and eventually the book was canceled, let's say 12 to 14 years after it started. What ended up going, they went back later on and said that the reason that the Justice Society stopped was because the government came in and said that they needed to reveal their identities, and because they were doing un-American things. So that does tie into what DC had set up for themselves, and they do say just that. They show the Justice Society of walking away from everything except for a couple of the older heroes like Batman, who refuses, and Superman and Wonder Woman, who are now working for the government.
Which we learn more about later on in the book here.
Yep.
So, I mean, you kind of start to get our Hal Jordan origin story because we meet his dad.
Well, yeah, we do a time jump by a couple of years.
So we go from 45 to 48, and it's straight up Cold War, though. Straight up Cold War.
Yeah, this is where we meet young Hal, if memory serves.
Yes, young Hal. He meets, why can't I think of his name? Because he plays a central role in it.
King Faraday.
King Faraday. Which love the play on, because he talks about it later, the play of words, king for a day.
Yeah.
See if King,
Well, they're playing chess.
Yes. King Faraday, who had flown with Hal Jordan, said, I love the My Buddy whiskey in there. That's kind of cool. Don't
be friends with whiskey.
No.
And if you drink it in a comedy club, really, avoid.
$18 a glass.
Yeah.
Was it at least like a tall glass, or was it a short glass?
It was not worth the money.
You got hosed. I bet. See, that's why I like drinking beer. Beer is cheap.
I don't think it was that cheap there.
I bet it was cheaper than your whiskey.
I bet it probably was.
And I would probably have gotten more liquid. But anyway, we digress. So we meet Hal Jordan, and then we just jump right to Gotham City, 1952.
Yep. So we have Hal, who's saying he wants to be a pilot. And then we see Our Man, one of the members of the Justice Society, being chased over rooftops. And there's some death of some cops.
Yep. But then what's really interesting, it goes into like a mock news story to give you some exposition.
Yeah,
I thought that was a neat way to deliver the exposition.
Yeah, this is kind of taken out of Watchmen's book. Alan Moore did this a lot in Watchmen, but he did it a lot more in depth. This only goes on for a couple of pages versus Alan Moore, who's like, here's 20 pages from a book, enjoy.
Part of it is it kind of goes against your philosophy of show don't tell. This is all tell.
Yeah.
Granted, there's some art worked into it, but it does give you an idea of like who's where and what's happening, and it sets the scene. I thought it was a neat little piece of exposition.
Well, a lot of this book also the audience's eyes in this book is Hal Jordan. So to a point, especially at this point in his life, this is how Hal would have been presented with this information.
Yes. And then we get, like, more story about, like,
Then we jump to the Korean War.
Yes.
So we've gone from the end of World War II into the end of the Korean War.
Yep. And so we have, Airman Jordan. We have Ace, right?
That guy who I had to look up.
The guy you had to look up. And so we've got some firefighting.
Yes, they say that Hal hasn't fired a single shot in Korea, but he's an adept enough of a pilot that he's been able to save other people by distracting the Koreans, essentially just distracting or kind of forcing them off their trajectory. And it comes out that the war is over. No more Korean War. Hooray!
But unfortunately for Hal, he gets shot out of the sky. And then Ace does this ridiculous maneuver to save him.
Yeah.
Where he pulls a big arcing loop, ejects from his, because Hal can't pull his chute because Hal's unconscious.
And Ace misses.
And Ace misses.
It'd be so epic. So hang on, I'm going to jump out of my own plane, save this man.
Oh, I missed.
And we'll parachute down slowly together.
But he's able to, Ace is able to finally get there and pull the ripcord. And then we switch to another part of Korea, and there's Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen.
And Lois is like, I can get whatever I want here because I'm a lady, and there are no women. I run this bitch.
I love this line, the line, these GIs would give me anything in the camp for 10 minutes worth of chit-chat or a mention in one of my articles. The first time I read it, I thought it said mention of one of my articles, and I thought she was totally talking about, like, her bra.
Nope,
I was wrong. Misread it.
She was talking about journalistic integrity.
Yes, which Lois Lane has tons of.
Women aren't objects.
I never said they were. So anyway, we get Lois. So we're like, the worlds are starting to collide. Things are starting to meld together, and we're only 60 pages in.
Then Hal wakes up, and as he wakes up, he is kicking a Korean man in the face.
Gets in a big fight with him.
Well, and there was announced that the war is over, and Hal can't remember the words to say, no more fighting, the war is over.
Yeah.
As this man is trying to cut his throat.
Yeah, this brought back like a feel of like that scene in Saving Private Ryan where they're having the hand-to-hand combat. The German pulls out the knife. It had that feel to it, like.
Yeah, very similar. But Hal can't remember the German words. I'm sorry, not the Korean.
Korean.
Switched wars there. Can't remember the Korean words and ends up having to shoot a man in the face in order to survive.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing for Hal in this book. And then once it's over.
The other thing is like the whole sequence, how it's done in the 3 panels on that page, really deep. Really deep.
Yeah, and something I didn't mention about this book is it was adapted in 2008 into an animated movie, and it's a fine movie, and they used Darwyn Cooke as a visual consultant, and he did a little more scripting, but you lose a lot of the internal monologue in that movie that you get here, especially that stuff with Hal where he's struggling to remember the words in Korean and can't, and they don't really touch on that, and so it loses something without it.
But what I like is he puts in the Korean afterwards.
Yeah.
Neat little touch, because you get a feel for what it is.
And especially even the way they chose to do it. Because a lot of times in comics you'll get something in, I'm not sure what they're called, the kind of brackets, but they're the more angular ones.
Yeah.
And it'll usually say like translated from Korean, but in this they just show the straight Korean, and you know what it is. You know what Hal is saying.
Yeah, you're able to put it together. But the guy who's piloting the plane, who happens to just have Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen in it, Jimmy Olsen pulls Hal Jordan out of this ditch, this trench.
After he's killed a man.
Yes.
And just shot him. He didn't have a choice.
No, and he said it clearly in the panel, like, it was something I'd never considered, survival.
Yeah, it's...
And so it really draws on, like, that raw human emotion. Like, what would you, it's really easy to say I wouldn't in this situation, but if, like, if it got down to nut cutting time, what would you be willing to do?
And this first part of the book is starting to introduce us to our characters, setting the stage a little bit. And we'll go over to Gotham City, to an observatory, where Martian Manhunter John Jones has been accidentally teleported to Earth, and the old man who brought him there promptly dies from a heart attack.
Well, I would too if all of a sudden I was messing around and alien just showed up. Although, I think I'd like offer him like a drink or something, be like, hey, what up, E.T.?
But
at least offer him some pants.
They get into the pants thing later.
Yeah, that's called foreshadowing.
But it's a pretty on-the-nose allegory. He's like, you look different, you need to hide, people won't understand you and will be afraid of you.
Yeah. And understandably so. I mean, this guy is green. It looks like the alien from Ridley Scott movies and has three... It's like a mix between the Ridley Scott alien and the alien from Signs.
Let's not bring the Signs movie into this.
Whatever you do, don't go in the pantry.
Dumb movie.
Yeah, what? Okay.
Now, I don't want to talk... The movie where 80% water and they can't work a friggin' door handle. I haven't seen that movies in... 12 years, and it still pisses me off.
Almost every alien invasion of Earth ends poorly, whether it's they can't handle water and they land on a planet that's 75% water, or they...
With a baseball bat. Damn. No, we're moving on. We're doing something better.
No, it's one other. War of the Worlds, our atmosphere kills them.
Jerem's got him. I really like this next bit. We go over to Indonesia, I think. And Wonder Woman is gone. Indochina, my mistake. But Wonder Woman has gone missing, and Superman has to go find her, because these are our two United States representatives, and Superman goes over, and Wonder Woman is just down in someone. She's like, hey, Clark, come have a drink. He's like, what are you doing?
Not before Clark has to walk through this killing field of all these dead people, and then you burst into this bar, and it's all these ladies. It's a party. And on the table, your girl Wonder Woman.
You made it sound like she's dancing up there. She's not. She's just like, hey, let's have a drink.
She's probably drunk.
No, she's an Amazonian. I don't think she gets drunk.
Well, it would take a lot.
Her metabolism is too strong.
They're all drinking like sake or something.
For their cheap wine.
Goblet. I wonder how much money she would have to spend at the comedy club to get drunk.
I think she would have to buy the bar.
Well, I mean, she could just, use her lasso of truth and...
How much are you marking up these prices? How watered down is this? Tell me.
Exactly. She just had this really, really great look to her. She's drawn very well. There's a great...
Well, I like that they explain the whole kind of star-spangled nature of her costume in the sense of she's gone over to America and now she's employed by the American government, and that's why she has kind of that red, white, and blue.
And as she says, to win the hearts and minds of the disenfranchised. But I love this panel. So hopefully you maybe have purchased the book and you're following along.
Oh, I don't care. No, if you haven't figured it out by now, we're spoiling this.
But no, I'm just saying it'd be cool to follow along. It's kind of like commentary.
I don't need to go page for page. But
I love the panel, though. Just her eyes, just the expression in her eyes. Just great art. Great, the page before where she's like all happy, but all the other women in this picture, some are happy, some just look worn and beat down and tired. But she just has this like mischievous look about her. Like Clark's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she's like, "Having a good time."
So Wonder Woman they're not really supposed to get involved with other governments. Wonder Woman found all these women in cages, so she beat up the military around them who were just using them essentially for sex, or that's a polite way of saying it.
Yes.
So she beat up all the men, took their guns, put them in a pit, let the women out of their cages, and let them just do whatever they felt justified in doing. But she wasn't directly involved with it. And Clark said, like, we can't do that. That's kind of breaking a lot of international laws that we can't be involved in. She's like, you know what? These women need my help. Get out.
She pretty much gets him to the curb.
Well, she's like, there's the door, spaceman, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I believe so. Which is funny, because that comes back later in the book.
I don't know why I'm nodding at you. You can't see my nodding, can you, Peter?
Well, you don't have to tell them that you nodded at me.
Yeah.
So then we go back to Gotham, 1955, and we're back to John Jones. I love the sequence where he's, like, working on his shape-shifting.
Or he's trying to figure out the world, so he's just changing it. He's like the broadcast Indian. He turns into Bugs Bunny, one of the Marx brothers, and lands on, I'm going to be a police officer.
And then we get kind of like what happens in the world, montage to get us into the mid-50s. We get the Flash. We meet the Flash.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, by the way, this guy was struck by lightning, and he likes old Flash comics.
Yes.
And his shoes are on fire.
Well, when you're moving that fast and you're, breaking the sound barrier on your feet.
Oh, and then we get into the good stuff. Oh, we are going to put a plug in it for this week, kids. We'll be back next week with part 2 of New Frontier. Until then, you can find me at editorsnotecomics.com on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those other places that I'm usually at. And Jared's still here. Where you at?
I am on your couch, but you can find me on Twitter at Junior Rich. Tweet me. I'm going to be at a summer camp all next week. I need entertainment.
Without context, that sounds so weird. He'll be at camp. Yay!
I'm not going to camp as a camper. I'm going to camp as the leader of the camp for the week. And this is and the worst part about this. All right, so school gets out on the 20th. Camp starts on the 19th. So I got to spend the night at camp on the 19th and go into work on the 20th before I start my summer vacation, which starts off by doing more work.
And also, you have a reading assignment for me, but we will see you next week. Easy does it. But we'll be back next week for New Frontier Part 2. We will see you then.